Hello kind folks from the vinyl community, it's Richard here again, and in this video I'm going to attempt to rank David Bowie's studio albums. Bit of a tough task, but we'll have a go. There's 29 albums in total. I am going to include the two Tin Machine albums, but I'm not going to include the Labyrinth soundtrack. There is one album which I'm taking a bit of a liberty including, but you'll see whenever it comes. These are just my choices. You know, everybody has their own favourite albums by a particular artist, but these are the ones at this moment in time I would probably think is a fair enough reflection on how I feel about the albums. So, I'll also list my favourite non-UK single from each album, so my favourite album track, and whether it is a hit single from each album I'll also say which one it is. So I want to make this very quick because, as I say, 29 albums and it's going to take a bit of a while. So first one up, number 29, brings up the bottom of the pile, is 1997's Earthling. This is not a bad album, it's a drum and bass album, and I'm not a drum and bass fan. I find it too cluttered, the sound, and it's too sore in the ears. Am I getting old? I do not know. But the hit single off this was Little Wonder. The best LP track for me would be probably Looking for Satellites. Okay, notice I've put little post-its on so I don't lose count. Number 28 is 1993's Black Tie, White Noise. This is half a good album, but this suffers from like a 90s shuffly, almost baggy type production with a jazzy feel to it. It's okay. The big hit single off this top 10 was Jump They Say. My favourite track would be probably The Wedding Song. And number 27, Tin Machine 2. This is a disappointment after their first album, which was fantastic. First album rocked. This one was polished so hard. It was really polished to a T. It didn't have any big hits, a couple of minor hits with You Belong, Rock and Roll and Baby Universal. The best song on here by a mile is Goodbye Mr. Ed. One thing I will say, this is like the Winged Speed of Sound, where Bowie lets everybody have a go at songwriting and singing, and it doesn't work. Number 27, sorry, that was number 20. Number 26 is Never Let Me Down from 1987. I don't mind this album, to be quite honest with you. It's just got a recent reworking on the new box set, which in parts does work, but in other parts it makes it sound like a 90s album rather than an 80s album. This is overblown. It's overblown 80s production, and some of the songs are weak. For example, New York's in Love and a terrible version of Iggy Pop's Bang Bang. The biggest hit single off this was Top 20. It was Day In Day Out. My favourite track on this by a mile is Glass Spider, but I don't like the spoken introduction to it. But it's not a bad album. Number 25 is the one that most people can't stand, Tonight. I like this album, to be honest with you. It's not one of his best, but I still like it. The big hit is Blue Jean. The big critical hit is Loving the Alien. And my favourite song off this would be probably Iggy Pop's Don't Look Down. Very laid back with like a chord reggae. This got to number 1 in '84. It was a follow-up to Let's Dance, and it was a bit of disappointment at the time, but I think for nostalgia reasons more than anything, I actually quite like this. So number 24. is his first album, self-titled, David Bowie, from 1967. Sorry about the glare, folks. This is hard to describe. He was 20 years old when he recorded it. It was released on the same day as Sgt. Pepper, so it didn't stand a chance. The best way I could describe it is to take some Pink Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, take some Kinks and put them in a big Anthony Newley overcoat, and this is what you get. No hit singles off this, although Love You Till Tuesday was a single. And the best song on this, and I think probably the one that's closest to what it would turn out to be, would be, is it We Are Hungry Men? Yeah, We Are Hungry Men. Again, it's better than a lot of people give credit for. Still, it's number 24. Number 23, and this is the one I'm taking a little bit of a liberty because it was never released. This is Toy. This was actually scheduled. This was set to come out in 2001, and Virgin hemmed and hawed at the time. It never came out. Basically what this is a couple of new songs plus reworkings of his late 60s, very early 70s songs. Some of the songs are improved upon. For example, The London Boy sounds fantastic here. He does a version of Liza Jane, his very first single, as Davy Jones and the King Bees. Two of the songs, Uncle Floyd and Afraid, went on to become part of Heathen. Uncle Floyd morphed into Slip Away. But the real highlight of this album is a song called Shadow Man. It was recorded in 1971. Supposedly for either the Hunky Dory or Ziggy Stardust sessions. If that song had been on Hunky Dory, it would have really pushed it further up. It's a fantastic song. It became one of the B-sides of one of the Heathen singles. I can't remember which one. I think it was Slow Burn in Europe. But this is not a bad album, and this needs an official reissue. This is obviously a bit like it needs reissued on CD. Or issued, not even reissued, issued on CD and vinyl. Okay, number 24. And we have another bootleg I'm going to show you. This is from 1993, the second album from 93, The Buddha of Suburbia. This is better than Black Tie, White Noise. This failed miserably because nobody knew that it was a David Bowie album, because they never turned it over. This has been reissued on CD in a different cover with Bowie at the front saying David Bowie. But this is songs inspired by the Channel 4 TV program. It's almost like a look back into the 70s in various different styles. You get little bits of low and hero styles in this, little bits of glam. It goes through into the 90s, little bits of techno. It's a good album and deserves to be, again, issued. I think it was only ever issued in Argentina or somewhere like that there on vinyl. But this deserves a reissue on vinyl. I don't like bootlegs, but what can you do if you can't get anything else? Okay, oh dear, number 21. It pains me to have this so low because I adore this album. Pin-Ups from 1973, and the reason why it's so low is because it's a covers album. But boy, some of these covers are brilliant. Another shout out to the Omaha Introvert, because there's two Who covers in this. A very faithful rendition of Anyway, Anyhow, Anywhere. Did I get that right? I think so. And a real slowed down, raunchy version of I Can't Explain, which is the highlight of the album. The big hit off this was Sorrow, so it was. Other highlights include Rosalind, a version of See Emily Play, the Pink Floyd classic, and Them's Here Comes the Night. I think this is a great album. What a cover. What a cover. So we're getting into the top 20 here. We're nearly 10 minutes gone. I need to speed up a bit. Number 20. 1995's Outside, very experimental, very brave, went on tour with 9 Inch Nails to promote this. The hit single off this was Hello Space Boy, well, a remix version of it. My favourite song on this would be, if it's still on here, because this is a shortened down version of the CD. The best song would be I Have Not Been to Oxford Town. It's a good album, but it's very difficult to get into, but it does reward after a while. Number 19 is touring album, is rock album from 2003, Reality. No big hits on this. New Killer Star, this was a single but didn't do too well. The best song on it wasn't a single, is Days. This is an easy listen, and this was actually made so that he could actually tour an album that he could tour. He could play most of the songs off, so it wasn't difficult to replicate on stage. Good album. Number 18, Let's Dance from 1983. This is his commercial peak. This is his best-selling studio album. The first 3 songs on side 1 were all top 2 hit singles in the UK. Let's Dance, China Girl and Mother Love. My favourite on this is Shake It, which I think would have made a great 4th single. They say this is his sellout album. No, this was not a sellout album. This was just another branch on what he did. Maybe the one after that was a sellout, but this is great. Produced by Nile Rodgers. You know, you can't deny Let's Dance itself as a classic track. It's a very good album. Number 17, and we go up to 2002, and we have Heathen. This is another critically acclaimed album. The hit single in the UK on this was Everyone Says Hi. I have 2 favourite songs on this. One is A Better Future, which I think is extremely catchy, and 5:15 The Angels Have Gone. Again, it starts off very slow, but there's a few songs I'm not overly keen on. He does a cover of I've Been Waiting For You by Neil Young, and I can't stand Neil Young. So that destroys it a little bit for me, but overall this is a very, very strong listen, and I would recommend this of his later period. So we're nearly halfway there. Number 16, the last album of the 20th century, Ours. The hit single off this is Thursday's Child, and it's got a wonderful video. Very simplistic but wonderful. Best song on this would be probably You Angels of Promise. When this came out, everyone said this was like his second Hunky Dory. It's absolutely nothing like Hunky Dory. There is an acoustic song on it, but that doesn't mean that it's the same as Hunky Dory. No, I really enjoy this. The Pretty Things Are Going to Hell is a good song, which is reminiscent of Tin Machine, but this was a good follow-up to Earthling, which I was never that keen on. Okay, number 15. Lodger from 1979. The big hit single here was Boys Keep Swinging. Excuse the light, sorry. Yeah, this is the 3rd of the Berlin trilogy, even though it was recorded in Switzerland. Favourite song on this would be Fantastic Voyage. This is easier to listen to than the first 2 volumes of the Berlin trilogy because they're all songs. But a couple of them fall a little bit flat for me, like Repetition and Red Money, but overall it's still an excellent album, and that's why it's number 15. Just want to say, anything in top 20 or top 21 are brilliant albums, and you know, really deserve to be there. Number 14, Often Maligned. This is brilliant. This is such an antidote to Never Let Me Down. This is Tin Machine from 1989. I love this. This is in your face rock and roll, hard rock and roll. No polishing about this one at all. This was such a shock when I heard it, but it was, oh yes, he's back on track. There was no major hit singles off this. There were singles. I think Under the God got about 50 something, but the best song on here for me would be Bus Stop. Number 13, Black Star, the last one. The title track is immense and will always be immense. This could have actually been better because the song's released on the No Plan EP. I'm sorry about this light, by the way, folks. Let me move back a little bit. The songs on the No Plan EP, some of them are better than the actual songs that featured on the album. My favourite song on this that wasn't a single is "'Tis a Pity She Was a Whore." But yeah, it's a very, very, very strong album. And was there, I know it broke my heart, but is there a cooler way for an artist to leave this world? I don't think so. Okay, number 12, and we're getting close to the top 10. The Next Day. This is his comeback album from 2013 after a 10-year absence. Big hit single off this is Where Are We Now. It is a double album. It could nearly have been a triple album with the amount of songs that came, but I suppose there was a build-up of songs because there was a Next Day Extra that came out at the end of this year, and it had another 4 or 5 unreleased songs. But my favourite on this is You Feel So Lonely You Could Die. It's quite a safe David Bowie album. It's not overly experimental. It's a rock one. There's a couple of songs I'm not actually keen on. One is You'll Set the World on Fire, which sounds like something Bryan Adams would have done, which destroys the album. If that had been replaced by a song called The Informer, this would be much better. So, number 11. This might shock a few people. Low. 1977, big hit Sound and Vision. Side 1, short songs. Side 2, ambient music. All very enjoyable. Side 1 particularly, although my favourite song on this that wasn't a single is Warzawa on Side 2. But 2 of the other instrumentals don't quite do it for me, especially Weeping Wall. But this is the first of the Berlin trilogy, and it's an excellent album, and it's many people's favourite David Bowie album. Nudging slightly ahead of that is its counterpart Heroes, and the reason why I put Heroes slightly ahead is because side 2 of this is perfect. It starts out, there's 4 instrumentals finishing with 1 song, and I love it. Side 1 in this case is not quite as strong, although the title track was only actually a minor hit single reaching in the mid-20s, and Beauty and the Beast was a minor hit single as well. So if I want the perfect album, I would take side 1 of Low and side 2 of Heroes. My favourite song on this that's not Heroes is Moss Garden. Nearly there. Number 9. 1980 Scary Monsters. 4 hit singles on side 1. A number 1, Ashes to Ashes, and another top 5 with Fashion. This features, if you listen to Ashes to Ashes, it gives you no indication of what this album sounds like. This has got Robert Fripp's guitar all over it. It's a very strong album. Second side is regarded as the weaker side, but after how many years now, 39 years, it's the side I would go to the most, to be quite honest with you. Teenage Wildlife would be the highlight of this, and it's one of David Bowie's finest vocal performances. Number 8, 1976, Station to Station, only 6 songs. The title track is immense. Golden Years is a big hit. This is a must David Bowie album. Quite big in America as well, this album. I'm starting to speed up near the end here. Number 7, The Man Who Sold the World. This is the cover I'm familiar with. This is the cover, the original UK cover. Well, this is not an original pressing, it's a new pressing. But this here's his 3rd album. This has got Mick Ronson all over it. It's quite a guitar heavy album. his heaviest album until he did Tin Machine. There was no singles released on this, but he does a fantastic version of Nirvana's "The Man Who Sold the World." It's one of his best ever songs, to be quite honest with you. And "Width of the Circle" is another, and "All the Madmen" are two other major highlights of this. Okay, so that's that. Number 6, Space Oddity. Again, this is the album cover I'm used to. It was originally released as David Bowie back in 1969. This is the version you can buy nowadays. This is produced by Tony Visconti, apart from one song which was produced by Gus Dudgeon. Visconti didn't want to produce the title track because he thought it was a throwaway and a novelty song. How wrong was he? But side one of this is perfect. Unwashed and Somewhat Slightly Dazed should have been a single, and it would have been a great hit single, I believe. And it features one of his greatest ever songs on this album, Signet Committee, 9.5 minutes of pure genius. Side 2 is a little bit sketchier, although you do have the Wild Eyed Boy from Free Cloud, An Occasional Dream, and Memory of a Free Festival. Love this album. I can't recommend it enough, honestly. Fantastic album. So we're getting into the top 5. Number 5, Hunky Dory. This is one where if I recommend you start with Bowie, either this or the next one. The single released at the time was Changes, which flopped, didn't even dent the charts. A year and a half later, after it had success, Life on Mars was released and became a top 3 hit. This just shows how great a songwriter David Bowie is. Now, there's a song on here called Song for Bob Dylan, which I'm not keen on, and never have been. If that had been replaced by Shadow Man from the Toy album, this may have been number 2 or number 3 in my ratings, but still, it's absolutely a classic album. Number 4, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. Another starting point. Big hit single here is Starman. Rock and Roll Suicide would be a minor hit, which was released a couple of years after the album. There's not a lot to say about this album at all, but my favourite song on it would be Soul Love. I've just realised I haven't given my favourite song on half of these because I think I'm trying to do this too quickly. Number 3, Young Americans. A lot of the fans of the 70s don't rate this very highly. I think this is perfect soul pop. It's Blue-Eyed Boy, soul, plastic soul, whatever you want to call it. A huge hit in America with Fame, co-written with John Lennon and Carlos Alomar. The title track was another hit single, but one thing I will say about this album is this could have been and should have been a double album, because the outtakes of this album are immense. There's a song called It's Gonna Be Me, which would be also in my top 10 Bowie songs of all time. It made it under the Gouster in the box set a couple of years ago, but there's John I'm Only Dancing Again was from the sessions. Who Can I Be Now, After Today. So those are 4 songs that have been fully recorded, could have been added to this. And then on top of that, there's a couple of songs called Shilling the Roots and I Am the Laser, which I've heard online snippets of, and they're just as good. This could have been one of the best double LPs ever. But number 3, and also a great version of Across the Universe. Not everybody's taste, but I think it's very good. The best song on this, Right. The vocal interchange with the backing singers is, you have to hear it, it's great. Number 2, Aladdin Sane, 1973, 2 huge hit singles, Driving Saturday and The Jean Genie. My favourite song on this is Time. This is Ziggy Goes to America. I call it Ziggy Goes to America and picks up Mike Garson, because it's Mike Garson that transforms it with this piano work. His bonkers piano on Aladdin Sane title track is, it's mind blowing. His piano work on Lady Grinning Soul is is so soothing and relaxing, but there's an edge to it. And he does also, David Bowie, he does a superior version of The Prettiest Star with Mick Ronson on guitar, which is far superior to the Mark Bolan version, even though I'm a huge Mark Bolan fan. I will give him that. But my favourite song that's not a single, probably Time, or Lady Grinning Soul. Which leads to number one, and not only do I think this is the best David Bowie album of all time, I think this is the best album of all time. And that's from 1974, and that's Diamond Dogs. Never have I heard an album with so many different styles of music that come together in one huge cohesive unit. You have, to start with, a spoken introduction, which is always a bad thing for me, but this one works. You have Stones rock with Diamond Dogs, you've got glam rock with Rebel Rebel, you've got a tender ballad with A Rock and Roll With Me, you've got almost gothic style music with We Are the Dead, you've like funk disco-y type music with 1984, and screaming ahead to the new romantic era. You've almost got Big Brother, Chant of the Ever Circling Skeleton Family is almost, it could have been an early 80s new romantic song. The highlight of this for me is, well, not the highlight, one of the highlights, but the highest light is the Sweet Thing Candidate, Sweet Thing Reprise medley. I don't know how to describe this. I think it's the best recording ever made. I know that's a bit far-fetched, but to me, I just think it's perfect. I don't even know how to describe what sort of music it is. If you actually picture yourself in a downtown club in a smoky bar at 2 AM in the morning, and Bowie is crooning the opening vocals over like a piano type. It's hard to explain. And then it builds and it builds and it builds, and there's wailing saxes. It's the perfect recording, and I've never got sick of this album. It's held the top position for me for years, and I mean years. You're talking 30 years. I've regarded this as the best album ever, and I still get a thrill listening to it. In fact, I get a thrill listening to all the David Bowie albums. I'm a huge fan, and that is my attempt. Oh, I'm under half hour. My attempt to rank his albums, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And thanks to all those that have subscribed after, and there's been a few after the Lou Reed video I did last week. So again, thanks very much, and take care. Bye.